Welcome to the Radiantpreneur Rising Show with me, Jess Tomlinson. Interviews to inspire a new movement of leaders and entrepreneurs. The ones who lead with vulnerability and authenticity, stand in visibility, allowing themselves to truly be seen, are fierce and playful and sexy. Choose business as a spiritual practice. Seek collaboration versus competition. No, giving back is not an option. It's a necessity. They do it their way. They radiate. They rise. Now, let's rise together. All right, welcome everyone. I am Jess Tomlinson, and this is the Radiantpreneur Rising Show, episode number 7. And I'm so honored and thrilled to be here with a very special new-ish friend, Elizabeth Shaw. Her and I met, when was that? Like in April?
Yeah, or May.
Yeah, April or May, new-ish, but not that long ago. We are now chatting at the beginning of October. And she was just a soul sister from the start. You guys can probably relate in your own lives to when this happens. And we were at the same event, Alexia Vernon's Step Into Your Moxie Master Treat, or I'm mixing up. I've known her for so long. She's one of my best friends. So I'm mixing up actually her very first event, but this is her, what's the exact title is this? So I don't get it wrong.
Is it the Spotlight Speaker Master Treat?
Yes, that's what it is. Oh my gosh.
Now I'm self-conscious that I'm going to mix it up.
No,
we love you, Lex.
We love you. Yeah, no, you are so right. And yeah, so whatever the specific name of that event is, it's amazing. We met there, a lot of wonderful women, but Elizabeth is one of my favorite women that I met there. And you've probably heard me tell this story a bazillion times, but I couldn't talk during most of that retreat. And I just kept making eye contact with Elizabeth, and I knew, like, when I could talk, I really want to create a relationship, love sisterhood with this woman. So I'm so glad that you're here, Elizabeth.
Thank you so much for having me. And even in the silences, we had connection. So it was just a matter of time.
It's so true. I know. I remember I have the smallest bladder in the universe. So I was like going back and forth like a bazillion times, and you're right there in my path. And I just kept smiling as I walked by, and you had this like beautiful, like, just one of the things I love so much about you is like your presence. You are so amazing at that. And I crave that in, connection with another woman and just people in general. And I really appreciated that about you. So thank you.
Oh, well, thank you. I see that in you as well. And I'm sure that's part of our kindredness.
Totally. Yes. That and optimism, right? Which we're going to dive into.
My favorite topic.
Totally. Yeah. So before we dive in, I'd love to start with the opening question of what are some of your visibility edges that you are stretching into, leaning into right now in your own life and business?
In the last year, I have started doing more public speaking, and that is terrifying for me, to be honest, because I'm used to being the behind the scenes girl. I'm the event planner. I orchestrate everything from the wings. I am not the person on stage, but I've had this message of optimism that I want to share and want to spread throughout the world. And speaking seemed like one of the ways to do that, and also writing a book, which I just published. And it's incredibly vulnerable to be visible in ways that I have not allowed myself to be visible before. And yeah. I'm feeling a lot of stretching and growing there.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank you for sharing. I'm actually shocked that you that like it's not comfortable for you to speak, because I saw you speak at Lex's event and you were so magnetic and so like, grounded, and I was really impressed. So thanks for sharing that honesty, because I think so many times, right, it's like it can look really awesome, but maybe we have like really prepared and practiced and been able to stand in your genius and use your voice because of that practice, I'm guessing.
Yes, there's definitely a lot of practice that goes into it. And one thing, I just have been growing my team this year. So I went from basically a half-time employee to now 3 full-time employees. And that's been a really big stretch and growing. And as we get to know how to work together and how to cohesively share a message, there's a lot of discussion on what do we do if it's not perfect, or if we're not the expert, or any number of qualifications or qualifiers we put on ourselves to question ourselves, or and what we keep coming back to, and this is what I come back to in my speaking, is, am I providing value, and is it authentic? And if I can do those 2 things, whether it's perfect, if I trip over a word, or if I trip in person, which I'm a klutz and often do, as long as those 2 things are coming, like that for me feels like true heart-centered work and purpose, and living from that is where I'm finding joy and meaning.
Yeah. I love that. Those 2 things, does it provide value, and is it authentic? I love authenticity. That's, one of my favorite things to talk about. And so I'm curious for you, what is authentic?
Oh, it's so many different things. And I think growing into it a lot right now. In the past, for me, it was a lot about perfectionism and trying to be the most perfect version of myself and showing people the best. Not that it was inauthentic, it was just always wanting to be the best version of myself and put that forward. And both in writing the book and in just my life now, it's about being where I'm at. And sometimes that's messy, and sometimes it's silly, and sometimes it's klutzy, but sharing that and trying to be really thoughtful and heartful and intentional in how I do that. So one example, in right after my book was published, we're about to ship them out to the early purchasers. And one of my colleagues brought the book over and showed me the table of contents, and there was a major typo in one of the chapter titles. Major.
Oh my gosh.
And I wanted to just like sit on the floor and start crying. Which
Wow.
in and of itself would have been authentic. But I'm also mentoring a team and trying to be this representation of optimism. And so I had to take a moment and just kind of, ground myself a little bit, take that deep breath, and be able to say, wow, okay, this is really disappointing, and I'm really sad about this. And we're going to figure it out. So it's that taking a moment to breathe and balance and be able to say, okay, this isn't exactly perfect. It's not what I wanted or intended exactly, but it's still going to be okay.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love this. So I'm curious though, did you go home and have a proper breakdown?
Well, um, my very sweet colleague started crying because she had so much passion invested in it as well, and then that just brought on the tears for everyone. So we had a good team cry together.
Okay, I love this. I love this for so many reasons. Because like you're bringing up a good point around like leadership. Like what does it look like to actually lead a team? And there was this part of you I'm hearing that like really wanted to like process the emotion quickly so that like you could be that representation of like what your book is all about, right? And that you actually have nurtured an amazing team so much that they feel safe enough to like get so passionate and cry, and then you all like kind of are, in my mind it's like a demonstration of like you're all in this together. And they were really like taking that stand for your work, which is so special. Like that is beautiful feminine leadership.
And I feel like it ties back to the authenticity too, because it's not just about allowing space for yourself to be where you're at and share that, but
Mm.
allowing space for others. So even though I was trying to not sit down and cry in that moment, that was what my team member needed to do to release that stress, and I was able to
Yeah.
also join her in that, and it was such a sweet moment.
Yes. Oh my gosh, this is so good. I could talk about leadership stuff all day because it's just like one of my favorite things. And I just want to like highlight this point around what you just said of like giving your team like space to show up. And I think, whether people that are watching this have clients or, they do have a team or they're like a leader in, work or whatever leadership position they're in, this is so beneficial because um, it's like you want to lead by example, but if you were to have like completely broken down, let's say like for the whole day, maybe that beautiful moment wouldn't have risen up like for your team to be able to like support you in the way. I don't know. I'm curious, like your thoughts on that.
No, I completely agree. And it wouldn't have done anyone much service if I had just checked out for the entire day, even though there was that childish part of me that was like, that's what I want to do. I want to sit in the corner and suck my thumb for a moment.
Right.
But I also didn't dismiss what I was feeling. Like I let myself have that moment of like, okay, this is disappointing. And um, I think one of the things that I'm growing in and my visibility as well is um, really embracing those moments and not brushing them aside quickly, because I think in the past I've done that and said, it's okay, everything will be okay, let's just fix it and move forward. But
Mhm.
allowing that moment to exist completely as it was, like you said, just broke open more than I ever would have imagined from it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, we're not saying don't completely allow for the emotion to arise because you did, but what I'm hearing is that it's you move through it faster, in this practice. It's a practice, but you move through it faster when you gain these leadership skills, and that benefits the whole, including yourself, right? Like to be able to feel that emotion, really like process it. And I just got to give it up to you, sister. Like I probably would have freaked out. Like not, I mean, I move through things super fast and people sometimes think I'm a little aloof, but I'm like, no, I literally am over it. Like I can't explain, like I've always been that way. But I'm such like a geek when it comes to like editing and word stuff, and like I'm really amazed by you. That is a beautiful story.
Well, I think visibility is a part of it too, because if I
Yeah.
still was working completely on my own and no one was witnessing this mistake, I probably would have sunk into a lot of harsh self-criticism and
Mm,
been a little bit more reclusive in how I handled it. But because I was in this visible position and wanted to both process it myself and move through it, but help my team do that, I had
yeah.
to move through it a little bit more quickly. And I think that's where growing in visibility helps you
Mhm.
so much as a leader, as a, woman business owner, whatever it is, because
Yeah.
it challenges you to grow more.
Yeah. Yeah. One of my mentors once said something that really hit home for me. It's like, a lot of people stay not visible or kind of hiding or playing small, because when you are visible, there is a responsibility. And, all of a sudden now people are looking up to you. And I know a lot of my clients have fears of success that we work through that are keeping them, at a level that they're not completely fulfilled and happy at, yet subconsciously they're holding themselves there because they're like, oh shit, like what happens if I do, like actually, if this thing is successful? Yeah. So I'm curious for you, in taking on this huge project of writing this amazing book, did you have any fears of success, or what was your process around that?
I think my fears to start out were less around the fear of success and more the fear of who wants to hear what I have to say. And I'm a relatively unknown author, essentially. And so if I'm espousing all these ideas on optimism and no one's heard of me, are they going to listen? And so I started writing my book about tips and information that I had gathered about famous optimists, because I thought, oh, well, if I talk about how Oprah's an optimist, then everyone's going to listen. And this year, it was 4 years in the making. So the fourth year that I revisited my book, because I did it in isolated segments of about 6 weeks at a time. Fourth year, I picked it up and said, this isn't my story to tell. It's not everyone else's. It's my, like, I need to shift where I'm going with this and set that fear aside of, will people think I'm just an unknown? Will people question what I have to say? And claim that authenticity of my own story and go ahead and share that.
Wow. Oh my gosh, I love this. I don't know if I remember you sharing this with me. So this is really just such a beautiful reminder. Like, I did a live training yesterday on how do you quiet the noise so that you can get to your own truth and not just do something because you feel like it's going to be successful or because, you know, somebody told you that's the way to do it. And that's what this sounds like to me, is that you allowed yourself to really come home to, even though it was scary, like what was most true for you. So I'm curious, was there like a moment where it all kind of clicked, or like take us into that decision?
I wish I could really pinpoint the exact moment, but I just remember I go to Bologna, Italy to write, and it was early January, and I sat down and I picked up the manuscript that I had written for the last 3 years, and it didn't pull at my heart anymore. And that's what I think I really started to struggle with, where it's still a really great message to share. But I think as I started to increase my visibility in speaking and telling my own story, I realized that I do have something to say. And even if it only resonates with one person, it's still worth sharing my story. And that's when I decided, okay, I'm going to take that chance and set all the other work aside and tell my story, why I'm an optimist, because I'm not an optimist because Steve Jobs was or Bill Gates is. I'm an optimist because of my life. So that's what I needed to speak from.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Yes. I love that's amazing. Because I think so much, I just want to point out that what I heard you saying is that, you know, it didn't pull, or it didn't pull at your heartstrings anymore. And so the sign for you to move forward is like, if something really is pulling at your heartstrings and it's a feeling, you know, I think what I really am passionate about is helping to unwind our rationalization of things. Because, and I know you're a super smart woman too, so I'm curious your thoughts around this. But I am surrounded by very smart women. My clients are very smart women, like community, you know, that I'm around. It's like we can make sense of anything and like rationalize anything to of a reason to move forward. And what I believe we all need to unlearn is that rationalization, so that we can just say, I want to do it because it feels aligned and true for me. It pulls at those heartstrings. It like feels expansive versus contraction. So getting back to that feeling, what are your thoughts around that?
Oh, I completely agree. And then as women, we so often get ourselves stuck in that rationalization mode to where we can't even move forward. Even though we've rationalized a path forward, we are paralyzed by all of the overthinking of it. But it, I'm an incredibly intuitive person, and I wish I could have listened to your training yesterday, because I feel like the last few months I've been overwhelmed by the noise in my life and have lost a little bit of that real heart, that space just to hear myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I need to unwind a little bit and reconnect with that. But when I do, that's when I light up. That's when I know I'm living in my purpose and my passion, and I'm unstoppable.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. What for you has been creating the most noise right now?
Transitioning a little bit of my business, and that meeting of two worlds of where my business has been the last 8 years and where it's trying to go. And they've collided full force, like heads butting the
Yeah.
last uh, two months or so, because I've launched my book at the same time while I've had three major events taking place for
Mhm.
other clients. And then also growing a team and really wanting to work hard and be invested for their success. And sometimes forgetting that part of taking care of them is taking care of myself in the process.
Right.
So I fell back into old patterns where I was working every Saturday and Sunday because I wanted to prepare materials for them or put together a really fun team retreat, and
Mm.
um, forgetting that I can take time to breathe and self-care, and it will all still be there the next work day, whatever day that is.
Yeah. 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 Thank you for sharing that. That's something that every entrepreneur really like goes through, I believe, in multiple cycles and multiple times, especially when growing a team. I can imagine like I would probably work a lot harder if I had a team. Honestly, I'm just one of those people. I'm not, sometimes I feel ashamed to admit it, but I work way better when other people are holding me accountable, which is why I always have a coach. Even when I think that I don't need one, I'm like, okay, here I go again. Yeah. So, um, yeah, the self care piece. I'm feeling
One
like,
of the
so yeah, go ahead. Is there anything you want to touch
one
on
of the
around that?
things we've been working on too for all of us, and I was sometimes coaching my team on this, but learning to ask for help. And
Mm,
then I realized today that I'm not very good at doing that.
yeah.
But I think that so often there's stigmas with even just that phrase, ask for help, because it
Hmm.
means somehow that you can't do it on your own, or you don't have all the knowledge or strength or whatever it is that you need. And I'm trying to both learn for myself and for the rest of my team that it's not a sign of failure at all or weakness. It's actually opportunities to help each other shine more and to
Yeah.
bring out each other's strengths by relying on someone who might have better expertise in one area, or
Hmm.
a different field of information, and also to take care of each other and support each other. And I
Yeah.
think it's one of the values of having a coach and having peer groups that you're a part of, because you then have spaces where you can say, okay, I'd love someone to help me unthink or unlearn what I've been stuck in,
Yes.
or stop rationalizing in different ways.
Yeah. Yes. Oh my gosh, you're speaking my language. I started out as a self-care coach because of this very thing, because oldest child, very like, I can do it no matter what, and taking on way more responsibility than, I ever should have. And thankfully, I never burned out. However, I internalized things so much that, and I don't remember if we talked about this or not, but I had massive, massive stomach pains from the
Oh,
time when I was fairly young, probably like 9 or 10, all the way up through my mid 20s, like so bad that they would cause me to like throw up eventually just because the pain was so bad. And what I finally learned, through my own self exploration and taking care of myself was that it was those things such as like not taking on more than I could handle, asking for help, setting boundaries, meditating, because I was storing everybody's energy and everything that I was like putting responsibility on inside my belly, literally. And something that was super interesting is I had my first acupuncture appointment ever a couple days ago. I told her about this. She's like my close friend, and it was so eye-opening because I learned that that area of my like stomach that used to cause so much pain is actually where like in acupuncture it's tied to our adrenals.
Oh, wow.
So apparently I had internal burnout. Even though I never really felt like tired, I've always been able to sleep, like none of those
Yeah.
signs of like adrenal fatigue. However, that area is connected to your adrenals. So interesting.
And it's all connected. The
Oh my God.
emotions, the energy, our bodies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yes. So thanks for bringing up that self-care piece. I think it's so important for us as women, and especially like when people are in a stage in their career like you are, where you're expanding and growing so much, and putting your book out there and shifting businesses and running a team, like it's just the essentials, right?
Yes. And meditation and acupuncture are two of my non-negotiables.
Really
Yes.
awesome. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, I'm sold now. Like she told me so much. Actually, she kind of freaked me out a little bit. Like I was like, oh my God. She looked under my tongue and said that I have like stuck blood in my body and that people with stuck blood die earlier. And I'm like, I don't think she meant to scare me, because she later told me like, oh my God, you're in amazing health and you're one of those people that could come to me 4 times a year just for a tune-up. And I was like, okay, that made me feel a lot better. So yeah,
You don't
interesting
need
that
to
that's
rush out
part of.
right now and finish your bucket list in the next 10 minutes.
Right. Yeah. What have you gone to acupuncture for? Like what's your kind of reasoning behind it?
So I have lived with autoimmune diseases my entire life,
Yeah.
and similar to you, I feel pretty strongly that it's probably because of how I internalize my stress.
Mm,
Although they run in my family and the women in my family,
mhm.
but just trying to figure out how to better care for myself. And a few years ago, I was going to doctors at Mass General, which is like one of the leading hospitals in the country. And I'm so blessed in Boston to have access to resources like that. But all of the treatments were about increasing prescriptions and basically them telling me to stop working. And
Yeah.
I said, no, I need to find some natural ways to try and take care of myself that
Yeah.
aren't reliant on a lot of medication. And so I started meditating, I started acupuncture, started yoga, and they've all made a significant difference. I still have
Mhm.
some really bad days because of my health, but overall,
Yeah.
I'm able to run a business and still work, and just it's about not internalizing my stress as much
Yeah.
and
Asking for help.
self-care. Yeah.
Yeah. Self-care. Yeah. Wow. Thanks for sharing that. So
Yeah.
let's switch gears. I want to hear about so you've written this book and I know a little bit about it. And the overall purpose is really to share your message of optimism. And so I'd love to hear just what does optimism mean to you? And then you can feel free to share, as much about kind of like the book or as little as you want. But what does optimism mean to you? Because I know it's different for like everybody, right?
It really is. And I think so many people try to boil optimism down to, are you a glass half full or half empty sort of person?
Mm-hmm.
And what I say is, what you do with the glass is much more important than how you see it. So
Ooh,
there's
I
going to
like that. What you do with it is more important than what it looks like or how you see it. Ooh, tell us more about that.
well, there's going to be good days and bad days, and you can't. Optimism isn't about pretending that it's all sunshine and roses when there's a hurricane outside, like there was here in Arizona yesterday.
Oh my gosh.
Or the remnants of a hurricane. It's been a crazy week here.
Whoa. Mama Earth is just like upset, right? There's so much stuff going on.
It has been a big couple of weeks.
Hmm. Well, I'm glad you're
So
okay.
thank you. Um, but yeah, optimism isn't about just pretending that something's all like rosy and perfect and positive when it's not. It's, I think, about seeing what is and then figuring out how to make it better and improve it and move forward. And I've been called a hopeless optimist my entire life. And I take really big issue with that because I don't think it's hopeless. I think it's so
Mm-mm.
much of what leads to fulfillment and success. And so writing this book was about how to practically apply optimism in your life
Mhm.
and not make it this like pie in the sky, rainbows and unicorns thing, but real tangible things that people can be grounded in every day. And so I broke it into 5 different categories. The first is ourselves and how it relates to how we see ourselves and treat ourselves, our
Mm.
relationships, our work, our communities, and then worldview.
Wow. How does optimism relate to how we see ourselves? I'm like stuck on the first one.
Oh, well, pretty much the first chapter of the book is about believing in ourselves. And you kind of
Mhm.
have to start there. But so often we're our own harshest critics. And so treating ourselves like the person that we want to become or who we're aspiring to be, because at our core, like, we are that person already. We might still have some steps to get there, but like, it's in us.
Yeah.
And so if we treat ourselves that way, we're much more apt to turn into that person and actually be successful in getting there than if we are constantly criticizing ourselves for not being there yet, or judging ourselves because we think we've failed in some arena or we're not measuring up.
Mm.
So that's kind of, I think, where you have to start.
Yeah. It's like that self-compassion piece, right? Like we we don't need more like ass whipping. We definitely need more self-compassion. And I know that's something that I like have massively like continued to really like practice, because I can definitely be super hard on myself. I have very high expectations. I have high expectations of other people.
Yes.
That's where I really see that I'm hard, because I'm like, I'm not that hard on myself. And then like I'm like, why are they being like that? Like, why are they, and it's just my own, harshness on my own self reflected in how I'm like, seeing somebody else and holding like expectations for them.
Yes. Which I
Yeah.
talk about all of those things, choosing action over perfection, because perfection is just, I don't know,
Mm.
pessimism disguised as some lofty goal that we've set for ourselves. But also in relationships, part of being optimistic there is releasing expectations of other people.
Yes. Oh my God, we are soul sisters. You need to watch my very first talk I ever did. I actually created it in one of Lex's first programs, like long, long time ago. It's all about releasing expectations of like on ourselves from other people. Like we're total soul sisters.
I can't
Yeah.
wait. You'll have to send me the link or I'll find it on your website or something.
Yes, I'll send it to you. It's called the caterpillar effect.
Ooh.
Yeah, because I'm still like, I mean, I have my tattoo is like the process, not just a butterfly, but like the caterpillar cocoon and then the butterfly. Because I believe we're like constantly in process of like transforming, releasing, surrendering, believing, but then like doing it all over again. Yeah. Awesome. Wow. So, um, I'm curious, tell us more. Actually, I have a specific question. Do
I have
you
an answer.
feel, okay, do you feel, or what's your thoughts on optimists being like, are optimists more hard on themselves than like pessimists? What are your thoughts
I
around
think
that?
so. I 100% believe that, because
Yeah.
I think we see, as optimists, you see the potential for what could be,
Yeah.
And so it's hard sometimes to accept when that's not the case. I think it also goes hand in hand with perfectionism. I think most optimists are perfectionists
Right.
because
Yeah,
you
this
know
is,
what's possible.
yes. Yeah. It's like the dark side of optimism, right? Like for every light side, there is this like, darkness, shadow, that is needs to be embraced as well, right?
And learning how to bring harmony between the two. Um,
Mhm.
I don't like the word balance very much because
Me
I think it,
neither. Oh my God. Me neither. I
I
like
think we
dance.
were separated at birth.
I seriously think, like, literally everything you've said on this interview and all the talks we've had before, I'm like, oh my God, I love you. We are definitely like, we're twin flames. Okay, carry on. I'm sorry I
Yeah.
interrupted.
Well, I want to hear more about why you don't like balance too, but I think it just keeps things constantly in tension with each other instead of figuring out how they can work together and complement and support each other. And so I want, that harmony that comes with beautiful music, like finding that right connection between all of the notes and instruments instead of balance, which is just feeling like there's constant fighting and
Yes. Same. Yeah. Totally the same. I actually did a video a long time ago called Balance is Bullshit. Don't look it up. It's like horrible. It's dark. I don't know what kind of like camcorder I was using, but it was like a really long time ago. Um, but it actually, people really liked it. Um, and that's exactly what I was talking about. I was like,
yeah.
balance is bullshit because it creates tension, it creates pressure for us
Yes.
to be balanced. You must be balanced, which is not realistic because life is in fluctuation and change and movement. That is the definition of life and creation. It's always changing and evolving and moving. And it's like, although it's like moving forward, the things around it are like rearranging. Sorry, my text keeps going off if you can hear it. Like, um, I forgot to silence it. Normally I do that before we record.
I
Um,
can't hear it. Everyone else
oh, you
might be
can't?
able to. That's you. I
Probably.
can't.
Um, so yeah, I'm same way. And the main reason is for that very fact that like then people start to compartmentalize and get stressed out about like I should be like prioritizing my health and I should be like relationships. And yet you might be in a season like you are, right? Where you're really focused on growth of your business. And so maybe a few other things are going to fall, a little bit behind, but it's not behind because it's all serving the whole.
Exactly. And then that'll shift in the future. And maybe there'll be a season that's more just about personal relationships and growing those and investing a lot of that extra space and energy for that and a
Yeah.
little bit less on work or something else.
Yeah. I always think of, have you seen the movie Eat, Pray, Love?
Yes.
Okay. I always think of when Julia Roberts, Elizabeth Gilbert, and her character was meeting with Ketut, the like
Yes.
wisdom guy, shaman or whatever, and he's like talking to her about um like she was all stressed out about like love and work, and he's like sometimes things need to get off balanced to get back in balance. He said something to that effect. Do you remember that part?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. She was worried about like prioritizing like her love way too much, like her relationship, and like going all in and ignoring like the other things in her life. So that's
Well, and
what
then
that
there's
reminded
that
me of.
whole myth of work-life balance as if those are only if they're two disparate things and how can you
Right.
have 50% of either and then like you said there's health and there's so many things.
So many things. Yeah.
Do you know
So
David White? Are you familiar with
no,
his work? So he's a
no.
poet and he wrote a book called The Three Marriages. It's one of my favorite books. And
Mm,
it's on that concept that basically balance is a myth. And so he talks about the relationship with yourself, relationship with others, and relationship with your work.
Yeah.
And those are the three marriages in your life. And you have to figure out how to bring them together. I don't know that he uses the word harmony, but he uses something that
Mm.
basically says balance is bullshit.
Yeah. Huh. Neat. I'll have to look him up. David White. And we'll put all these links in the show notes too, so people can go check them out. And then, of course, link to your book.
Yes.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to share about the book that you feel like people should know, or who it's for? Or...
Well, I want to say it's for everyone.
Of course.
I've been humbled though, because I would have said that I thought it would be for people like myself. So probably women in their, late 20s to late 40s that probably consider themselves optimists, but sometimes just need a little bit of reinforcement and reminders of how to apply it when life is difficult. And in our day and age, there's so many things that make it easier to be pessimistic. And so that's what I would have said that my market was. But I had a 16-year-old daughter of a friend read it and call and tell me how touched she was about the part on perfectionism and how it just gave her permission to let go of that a little bit. And I had a 90-year-old Vietnam vet who plays poker with my dad. I wouldn't even say he's probably a friend of my dad. He just plays poker with him. He read my book and wrote me the most beautiful letter about how touched and influenced he was by my book and how much he's still learning about optimism from me. And so I get that spectrum, and I'm just so humbled and blessed that it's touching people, because that's really all I want. I want to encourage people to live more optimistically, but in a way that really can make a difference for them.
I love that. I'm going back to what you said a little bit ago about how your thoughts around optimism is really being able to like acknowledge what is so that you can make it better and move forward. And I love that. And I actually feel like that is like my greatest gift. Optimist.
Probably why you're a great coach.
Well, yeah, or like the type of coach that I am, like I've been doing a lot of my own reflecting lately, because I'm shifting my business to be able to support women in a year-long mastermind, as you know, because you and I have talked about it, and my own, growing into what does this look like, and like what am I really good at, and how do I want to serve women. And what I came to recently, I think since we last had our chat, is that I'm really awesome at helping people reinvent themselves and take those big, bold leaps to move forward, even when it's scary, even when it's hard. And that's probably comes back to this whole dialogue we're having around being an optimist and being able to like kind of look at what is and like, let go of the past and continue moving forward in a way that feels good to you, not in a way that everybody else told you you were supposed to do or be or create from. Yeah.
I like to tell people to be unrealistic, because as much as I want to help people be grounded in practical tips with optimism, a big part of it is letting go of all that rationalization and saying, this is a dream. This is something I believe in. And I don't care if everyone says it's unrealistic. I'm going after it.
Yes, because it's like, if we don't, and this is such a thing with women, I believe, in the work that like I've done on myself and other people, it's like, if you don't allow yourself to dream into that, like, what'd you just call it? Unrealistic?
Yeah.
Yeah. Into that like unrealistic, like big, juicy, magical, like dream, then you aren't even going to give yourself permission to actually discover what you want or what could be possible for you, because it's like nothing great happens within our comfort zone. And then you're not inspired. Like, at least I found for myself, I don't know about you, but if I don't have like a big vision to work towards, like I will just do the basics. And then I'll never really get anywhere and I won't feel that juice behind it.
Exactly. No fulfillment in it.
Right. Yeah. Well, is there any direction that you feel like you want to go for our last few minutes?
I just want to encourage people that it's okay and really great to believe in yourself and to believe in just those unlimited possibilities. Like, I want to give permission for that. Like, it's not being a silly-eyed dreamer. It's not false optimism or hopeless optimism or any of that. Like, it is the core of being your authentic, radiant self, is to believe in yourself and in all of those possibilities. And so just everyone who's watching, take a moment and give yourself permission for that.
I love that. And what are you dreaming into like next? Like what's the vision that you want to share?
I'm working on books 2 and 3 right now.
Oh my gosh. You are amazing.
Again, it's that something inspired me, and now I cannot wait. I feel like I just want to voraciously write and continue sharing this message and take it to people, but especially women and women entrepreneurs everywhere.
Yeah. And you're speaking around and sharing this message of your book.
Yes, a lot of book tour events coming up in the next few months.
That is so exciting. Yay. Oh my gosh. Well, that feels like a good place to wrap up this love fest. Although I know we could talk forever. I'm like, now it's time to go grab our wine and have our
Yes,
wine.
next time we will talk for hours with wine. But
I
thank you so much
know.
for chatting with me today. I love how much we are soul sisters.
Me too. And I just love what you're up to. And I can't wait to see you when you come to the Bay Area and in just a few weeks. And so let everybody know, where is the best place to find out more from you and to buy your book.
Yes, my website is divine.com. That's D, A as in apple, VINE. And there's a link to my book there, but it is available on Amazon as well.
Great. And we'll put all these links in the show notes, which for those of you who want to head on over, this is episode 7. So the link is jessicatomlinson.com/show-7. And you will find Elizabeth's beautifulness and all the goodies over there. Go grab her book. I'm excited to get my own copy and to read it. And I have a feeling it's going to be like hearing myself talk and a great reminder of everything that I need to remember.
Yes, you're going to say, wait, I could have written this too.
Well, yeah, but I didn't, which is the awesome part. It's like one of those reminders of like, things get out there in the world through the right vessel. And I think we can all take comfort in that. Like, we don't have to do everything. We need to just do what is like tugging on the heartstrings now. Yeah. All right, beauty. Thank you so much.